Good afternoon, Weather and Ag in Focus coming to you on this lovely little Monday that we've got going on over here. Well, and why wouldn't we be? We are watching temperatures go to the lower 80s. We're shooting for a high of about 84 degrees today. Not a bad afternoon. Now, there could be some showers and storms expected a little later as a cold front comes through the area. They could be strong. Now, I've had a talk with Mother Nature. I've had enough of the strong storms. Thank you very much. Between the heavy winds, the heavy rains, I'd like a moment of calm if we could. So hopefully we do not see any of those pop up. We are getting more smoke to come down today, tomorrow, and Wednesday when that cold front comes in. We've been experiencing that most of the summer. Not really a surprise to see a change in our weather pattern at this point because of cooler weather and then the smoke that returns to us. And man, hoping things get better in Canada. For those who say, well, why can't they just put them out? Everybody, go open a map. Let's take a little look, whether you're using Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever your favorite is. Maybe you're still a fan of Ask Jeeves. Yes, I remember that existed once. You can go ahead and take a look at the size and scope of those fires. They have been going on not only in Saskatchewan, northern Manitoba. There have been some in Ontario. It's really just been everywhere. So we're hoping for the best to see that improve over a little bit of time. And when we talk about the weather, well, there's so many more things that go along with it. We have potential for flood warnings. We'll see if that comes to fruition, but those are in Clay County until Friday. And then just an air quality alert that's going to go out in Minnesota. And for those who suffer from respiratory issues, now is a good time to try to stay indoors. We're hoping for the best for you and that this passes fairly soon, but we've had it happen before. One of the things that also tends to happen when we have so much of this wildfire smoke is we start to see a little change in our wildlife. And there were several years ago, many of us watched the progress of a bull moose that was living right along I-29 north of Fargo near Gardner, North Dakota. Maybe we'll see some of those things happen again this year. As animals push further south due to the fire and the smoke, maybe we'll see some uncommon things here when it comes to our wildlife. Common things that we see are certainly harvest is getting ready to roll. And it just so happens that our Here We Grow field, I had an opportunity to drive by it this morning. We are right there. Harvest will be along before you know it. We see grain ripening all across the area. In fact, western North Dakota has started to see quite a bit of their grain being harvested. Combines are rolling. The custom harvesters are also in that area. I've watched on social media quite a number of them in Montana and getting ready to start western North Dakota. A lot of the wheat, and again, we're primarily a spring wheat market up here. A lot of our wheat is being reported in the 50s and higher, even up to some 70 and 80 bushel wheat. The protein for that wheat seems to be all over the board from the folks that I've asked. You've got, just depending on what the weather situation was like at the time, it seems, is kind of what's happening with your proteins. If you had some stress, you have a little higher protein versus not having it. The hope is that things are dry for the next week. Would love to have that because that allows us a chance to be able to get in the field soon. There's plenty of barley that's also ripe. We don't want to leave cereal grains stand in the field too terribly long because we start to lose our quality. And there's something called falling numbers. You've heard it described on the show before by others, certainly the professionals in grain marketing, but that is an effect that decreases the payment that a farmer can earn because of what the falling numbers do when it comes to the milling that happens with the product. So we're hoping for no problems with falling numbers. Also this week, keep an eye on what's going on the highways. We indeed have sugar beet pre-pile. Sugar beet pre-pile is going on for American Crystal Sugar. That is when we are bringing sugar beets in from the fields. We're starting on the edges, the headlands, etc. This really gets a chance for operations to start running at the processing plants in the 5 factory districts. They have an opportunity to make sure equipment's running smoothly, have staff in place, but also as farmers, you get a little bit ahead and you get a taste of what does my crop look like? Where are things at for tonnage and sugar and so forth? And so it is sugar beet pre-pile season. It's coinciding with a lot of back to school. And I know that you've heard me mention this before, but I cannot emphasize enough. As parents of new drivers, young drivers, if you're living in rural areas, please be aware of equipment on the road with harvest. We've got more trucks. Right now, we're moving large equipment, whether it's with a small grains harvest, could be with sugar beet pre-pile, could be hauling hay, any of those things. But let's be careful. Let's not do silly things. This morning, I felt like everybody on their way to Fargo was in a massive hurry and spent a lot of time tailgating. I don't know if all of you driving Minnesota license plates got the message, but North Dakota is not going to be so lenient on our speeding tickets anymore. So take it easy out there. Everybody I saw pulled over this morning had Minnesota plates on. So we're hoping that we have a safe harvest, and there'll be more to come when it comes to the things that we have to pay attention to as far as safety. Because of our recent wind and our recent rain, our soybean aphid numbers are indeed down. You saw the population starting to decline. We didn't have a lot of areas where there was much going on for spraying activity. Many of the beneficials were certainly keeping pace with what was going on in the field. And at this point now, we will see that downtrend, particularly because our soybeans are advancing in their stage. Once we get soybeans past flowering, really into good pod set, we have less soybean aphid economic damage to the beans. And so we have the opportunity now for the soybean aphids to drop and things get a little bit better. You know, for this week, if you have some places you'd like to go, and who doesn't? Well, maybe you're not combining yet and you've got everybody off to school. Well, this Wednesday, August 13th, NDSU has its Extension Dry Bean Field Day. That'll be in Hatton. There is a sugar beet weed disease management research plot tour in Prosper. And then later in the week, Northern Great Plains Research Lab is holding a field day out in Mandan. The Pro Farmer Crop Tour kicks off next week. This is the tour that'll be happening across the states, looking at our corn and soybeans and trying to determine what is our quality and what do we think our bushels are going to be. There's also a USDA report coming out next week, Tuesday. Won't be long. Minnesota State Fair starts, as well as the Great Minnesota Give Together. And this is where the Minnesota FFA is running a telethon. They're looking forward to raising funding for students and scholarships enrolled in the FFA program. And South Dakota kicks off their state fair over the Labor Day holiday. Much up and coming when it comes to recent events in the area. One more is this Wednesday. I mentioned back to school and safety with drivers. Well, this week, Wednesday, from 11 to 2, we are hosting teachers and school staff here at the station, a free lunch. We will have food trucks, games for the kids, prizes. Come and join us. Get a chance to visit. If you have questions for those of us who are on air, we'd be happy to answer them. Maybe you're wondering where to get some of these ideas for bringing agriculture into your classroom. Well, I'll be there for a while as well, able to answer your questions and try to bring more ag into the classroom every single day. So again, that's this Wednesday, August 13th. I'm not looking at a calendar. If I screwed that up, call me. But I think I got it right. It'll be this Wednesday here at the station on Thunder Road in Fargo. When I said you can go ahead and call me, well, yes, you can. You can reach me today on the JLA Insurance phone line, 701-293-9000. I'll keep an eye on the email inbox, and there you can reach me, ag@flagfamily.com. Every day that we have guests, I always make sure to reiterate that we live stream these shows. We love for you to catch up with us there, and you can do those live stream or watch those live streams on Facebook, YouTube, and Acres TV, and we are listed under WDAY, Weather and Ag in Focus. What's Acres TV? It's the Netflix of agriculture. There's a multitude of programming there from ag influencers, virtual farmers, and so many more where you can see what's happening all around the country and other places because of the content that's brought to you by Acres TV. We have much going on today. We will be joined by two different guests in studio. The first will be Ward Cater. He's with Vision Ford out of Wahpeton, and I've already created a whole list of questions. You may have more for him as well. And then later in the show, we'll be joined by Ray Grabanski with Progressive Ag from here in Fargo. Always good fun to be able to ask questions ranging from vehicles all the way over to our marketing with corn, soybeans, and so much more. One of the things that we hear about so often is, goodness, what's going to happen with our cattle market? And when is our price of beef going to come down? Well, it's not coming down anytime soon, because we talked about how biology is one of the concerns, right? It takes so long in order for the genetics to have a calf and raise that calf to a size where they can have more that cow can have more calves before we even start processing. Well, keep in mind also that drought has been an impact for many. The most primary production areas for beef across North America stretch from Saskatchewan to Texas. And according to the U.S. Drought Monitor, we've had more that are abnormally dry over the last 10 years. And because of that, ranchers and producers get a little concerned about bringing in more livestock. They want to have correct stocking rates and they want to be cautious about not overgrazing. So that's holding back some of our herd numbers as well. While we have these low herd numbers, that means that our demand has also been up while our supply is down. And analysts tell us we're going to continue to see strong beef prices at the consumer level through 2026. So we will watch out for those and so many more things. When we return from the American Ag Network's Livestock Market Update, we'll visit with our first guest, Ward Cater of Vision Ford. We want everything on the farm to run smoothly, and one of those things should also be your technology. And if it's not, it's time for you to have a call or a little visit to the website for techsupportfarm.com, because they have the fence check assessment. And if you look at the assessment, you can determine, what do you need for your farm or agribusiness? Well, check them out, techsupportfarm.com. I mentioned earlier our wheat field for Here We Grow. And wheat field's coming along. Won't be too terribly far away before we're combining. North Dakota State Services has done their job as a sponsor for us this year, and they've really helped to make a complicated process so much easier. In fact, I was talking to a listener over the weekend who said, I listened to you have this conversation with Mark last week. I had no idea probate was such a problem. So there you go. That's what we're here for, is education on weather and ag in focus. And then also Thor Buildings, for those of you who are coming back from storms, lightning strikes, and so much more that's been happening. Make sure to have a discussion with that at thorbuildings.com, because that post-frame construction can meet your agricultural and livestock needs. I'm very fortunate to be joined in studio today by Ward Cater. He's with Vision Ford out of Wahpeton. And so, Ward, I was making a list of things we should talk about. What's on your list to talk about today? Anything in particular?
You know, there's so much to talk about, both in the industry and in our local economy. It's just, it's been fun. It's been good. You know, I'm very pleased to be where we're at right now.
So in my list of things, one of the ones that I wanted to talk about was safety, because here we are, we're sending kids back to school. We have new drivers on the road. What are some of those safety features that you see in vehicles these days you might be pointing out to parents or young drivers they should be aware of?
You know, I think we're in a really interesting place with safety right now. We're somewhere between fully autonomous and where we're at.
Yeah.
And the more dependent we get on, you know, things taking care of us, the less responsible we get. And so the cars are amazing what they can do. Everything from a basic, Ford has something called My Key.
Okay.
And the My Key limits the driver. I think you and I had a conversation about this a while ago. But it'll only go a certain speed. So you can say this car, no matter what, won't go over 65 miles an hour.
Oh, that's a very helpful little item right there.
The radio won't come on unless the seatbelt is on.
Okay.
You know, some things like that. So there's some things that are pretty basic, yet very useful.
Mm-hmm.
And then we fast forward, we have what's called lane keeping. It kind of keeps you, like when you're bowling as a kid, between the bumpers, right?
Yes.
It keeps you going straight. You might jig and jag a little bit, but it's going to keep you between the bumpers. And that fast forwards all the way to adaptive cruise. And what Ford and Lincoln have is Blue Cruise, where that's going to take you right down the interstate from here to Minneapolis or Sioux Falls or wherever you're going, and it's going to drive you all the way there without touching the steering wheel. So there's a lot of technology. It's just a matter of what you're looking for. And then we have lots of the basic safety things, too, to prevent you from backing into somebody. Both sensors, and it's going to apply the brakes. That's a big one, being able to actually apply the brakes. And the first time it does that, it really gets your attention because you're not expecting it.
I think you and I talked about this. I had grass on a field approach, and the sensors noticed that grass and just about threw me through the windshield.
Yep.
Because guess who didn't have her seatbelt on yet? Oh, that was a lot.
There you go. And yes, it'll get your attention.
Now,
so there's a lot of things out there for sure.
I got a question about that. When it comes to all those sensors and so forth, what about gravel roads and dust? How does it handle some of that?
So for the most part, in my personal experience, the only time it'll actually give you a heads up when it deactivates. In our world, it's slush, that wet, snowy slush, because they are truly just sensors, and there's sensors all the way around the vehicle, and we have cameras all the way around. Looks like there's a helicopter flying above your car all the time. And so if those get full of slush or something is voiding their view, it'll deactivate, but it does give you a heads up.
Okay.
So you're not going to find out it's there or not there by accident.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's other things out there. The rear view camera is kind of a standard issue. It's a great thing for backing up, whether you're hooking onto a trailer or just looking for something that might be there that you weren't expecting, a bike that wasn't supposed to be there, or even an adult or child that walked by.
Farmer dads are all saying, hold on, you all have to learn how to hook up a trailer on your own. But this is maybe a good training wheels to get you started, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. It's there's just so many features that are how I describe it when I work with customers. It's just looking out for you.
Sure.
You don't want to put all your eggs into the basket of perfect safety, but it is designed truly to be as perfect as it can, given its environment, whether it's the gravel roads,
Yes.
whether they're driving through slush on the way out to the farm or wherever they're going. It'll tolerate a lot, but there is a point where it might deactivate itself temporarily.
Okay.
So it's there to help, that's for sure.
I appreciate those safety features because we've all put new drivers on the road at some point, and no matter how many cautionary tales we give, they weren't listening because the radio was too loud anyhow.
A lot of distractions when you're in the car, right?
Yes.
Friends, radio,
Yes.
looking out the window in general. There's a lot of things going on.
What if we're thinking about the used market, right? Because, again, we've got folks going back to school.
Yeah.
Maybe we've had a vehicle where we need another on-farm vehicle for out in the field, et cetera. Has that market been fairly strong, or what does the used market look like for you right now?
We kind of go through our normal cycles, and then there's, of course, the atypical cycles. Right now, we're in what I consider normal, meaning it's been a very good new vehicle market, which that means we get a lot of really nice used trades in. So whether it's for a first-time buyer or for a second or third vehicle at the home or something additional for the farm or office, we're in a really good window right now between the end of the year for used vehicles. It's a great time, actually.
So when you think about those things, are there any specials or, we all want a deal, like, can I bring a coupon in of some sort to get a discount? What can I do?
When it comes to that, the internet's changed everything, as we all know, nothing new. But, do your homework, find out what fits your needs. At Vision Ford Lincoln, we're, of course, here to educate you and help you. You can go to our website, drivewithvision.com. and get some of the basics down. You can get a rough idea. I tell our team all the time, we do this every day.
Yes.
The normal consumer does it maybe every 4, 5, 6, 7, sometimes 8 years. So it's a whole new world every time you go out to buy a vehicle. So it is up to us to educate and help them understand the vehicles, the way they've changed, the finance options, whether it's flex buys or leasing or conventional financing, what's best for them. Bottom line is it doesn't matter to us. We just want to help find the right way for you to acquire the vehicle, as I say. So there's a lot of options out there. It is a good time. We sell certified vehicles through Ford Motor Company, and they're offering great rates. They're actually better than what's out there and new.
What's a certified vehicle?
So a certified vehicle is one that has come back into the dealership. We've put it through a very, very extensive inspection. And anything that is remotely wrong is typically fixed or repaired.
Okay.
And then they come out with an amazing warranty on top of that.
Oh.
So it's a great product. Every year we've seen this really ramp up, especially the last 4 or 5 years, because we're certifying other makes and models. It doesn't have to be just a Ford Motor Company product. So if you're looking for a new Subaru or a replacement Subaru or a replacement Toyota, we have them. And we have them certified. So again, you're getting a vehicle that's really had a fine-tooth comb gone through it. It has some great financing on it, and then on top of that, you're going to get amazing warranty.
So my favorite service that you provide that I think is just cooler than it's not is that I need an oil change and I can't get to you. You'll come to me, or you'll come out and do some of those service updates. Absolutely.
We're very excited about that. We're looking at growing that, expanding that. So we can come right to the farm. So if you have that first-time buyer, you just got a vehicle we can do the basic maintenance out there. If you have your farm trucks, we can do the same thing. So whether it's an oil change, you need a new battery. Batteries, when they go, they don't give you a whole lot of warning.
No, they do not.
It's typically in the most unfortunate, unfortunate time. It's cold and whatnot. So we can replace those on the spot. Everybody needs to do wiper blades. I'm just telling everybody, this time of the year, get your wiper blades going because they're rubber. They can't survive our high heat, our extreme colds. Very inexpensive way to take care of yourself from a safety standpoint. So get those replaced. And we don't charge for the service. Whatever you want done is all you pay for. So there's no upcharge at all.
I've owned all 3 of the major brands in the U.S., right? Dodge, Chevy, and Ford pickups.
Yeah.
And those Ford pickups, technological advances. First ones to come on out with the movable pedals. They were the largest gas tank I've ever had on a 36-gallon tank on a half-ton pickup.
That's a big one for
It was
everybody.
fantastic. I never had to fill.
Yeah.
And so I just think that continues with Ford for generations. That's why those Ford trucks are rated so high and continue to be.
They do exceptionally well. They really do. They give the customer what they need and want.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
I totally get what you're saying. Okay. And last but not least, I have a very serious listener question from a Ford fan. When is Ford going to bring back sedans like the Fusion and the Taurus? I know you have insider information. What is it, Ward?
It's a great question. I get asked that a lot.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we really don't have anything to share yet.
Constantly
asked.
When the day comes, I'm going to need you back here to share it.
We will be back.
Okay. And one more time, what's your website? I know I have the same tickle in my throat today.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. You're fine.
DriveWithVision.com. Go to DriveWithVision.com. All of our phone numbers are there, our address, everything for you.
And then take off down to Wahpeton to see what's on the lot if you didn't see it on the website. Maybe you found something you like. All right. Thank you, Ward. And
thank you.
After the bottom of the hour news, we are going to visit with Ray Grabanski with Progressive Ag. I have a whole list of questions for him. You know, I always have a list. That's what I do best. We'll see you in a minute. Addison, my radio dad, reminded me, stop coughing, drink some liquid, get on the air. You're going to be fine. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. I'm Bridgette Readel, Ag Director here at WDAY Radio, and have the opportunity to visit today with Ray Grabanski with Progressive Ag. Progressive Ag is one of our sponsors for our Here We Grow project this year. And then also, I have questions for Ray. I have questions for everybody who comes in. But if you as listeners do, you can certainly reach out on the JLA Insurance phone line, 701-293-9000. Would be happy to take those. Okay, Ray, I rattled off a whole pile of stuff before we even got started on air. Addison, you should have just been rolling out of commercials for that one.
I can always leave the mics hot, but management has informed me not to do that for various reasons.
I might be one of those reasons. Okay.
I can only press the dumb button so many times back to back.
And then we're just off air. We're just one big bleep. So, okay, Ray, here's a couple of things that people are asking about. One, trade missions, because right now there has just most recently been applications opened for a trade mission to Mexico at the beginning of November. Do you see big impacts in the market pre or post trade missions? What any feel for farmers about those? I encourage people to go, but what does that do to our market?
Well, I think that anytime you have dialogue with your customer, it's good. And so I would look at a trade mission that way. So if you can discuss things with your customer, what do you like about our product? What do you not like? What do you think we could do better? What are some things that would help you, to want to buy more of our product?
Yeah.
I mean, those are all good questions. Any good business is going to run, and so trade missions would be able to accomplish that. So how effective are they? It might depend on the people going on that trade mission and then who you're visiting with. But
sure.
yeah, certainly those are all important parts of marketing your product.
Yeah, I mean, which commodity product are you representing at the time, right? It can't all be corn and soybeans.
Well, of course, yeah. In North Dakota, we have a lot of different products to represent. Spring wheat, of course, is very important, and we raise a lot of canola. We raise a lot of dry beans and all types of products. So, yeah, very important.
So, next up on that list, Ukraine. Oh, sorry. Bridget's chair slid away from her, and she couldn't get back to the mic fast enough. All right, Ukraine. I've heard their wheat crop isn't very good. That's a positive for us, though.
That would be positive. We hear about other countries during the growing season. Some countries are better. I think, if I remember right, Europe is having a little better crop, and Russia has a little revision. They make these revisions all the time. Tomorrow morning, we get a USDA report at 11 o'clock, and they'll make some revisions there as well.
That USDA report tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, that's the one where it's mostly farmer opinion. It's not. We're taking what the farmer reported for their best guess as to the condition of the crop and so forth, right?
Yeah, actually, it's not so much farmer. They do surveys for acreage and for planted acreage and intended acreage.
Okay.
And now they are actually looking at plots. They have certain plots throughout. They do counts on them.
Yep.
And they make estimates based on those plots. Now I suppose you have an ear actually on corn. Yeah. And maybe, I don't even know if you've got enough pods to count. The Pro Farmer Tour is coming up, and they count number of pods. But, just because you have a pod doesn't mean that beans, you're going to have 4 beans in it or 2, and how big are those beans going to be, all that's important. But they do a pod count, and then they do a yield estimate on corn. I think USDA is doing that as well, and on spring wheat as well.
I think you're right about the way they're estimating it. So, really, the survey is only as good as the information given back, okay, first and foremost. And I have told this story before. You're talking to somebody who, when we were kids, my dad would give us the paper surveys and say, just fill this out. I mean, we were the biggest hog farmers in McIntosh County, right? We just made stuff up. But those inaccuracies can reflect in the market. So we have to be careful about that kind of information. Yeah,
absolutely. And that I think about that with artificial intelligence. Everybody wants to trust anything that artificial intelligence spits out. But data, the quality of your data affects the quality of your conclusions and results. And so obviously, that's very important to have any quality in it.
I look at ChatGPT and all the other AIs. I mean, that's the one we talk about the most. But I look at any of the AIs. They're a tool, but I know I have to fact check them because I've using Twitter, Grok, I've caught it wrong. I know what some of the things it spit out has been inaccurate. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping everybody else is thinking about that too.
I'm very interested, to ask artificial intelligence, is the price of wheat going to go up tomorrow or go down? Because markets generally work, the way I see this artificial intelligence, they're taking all of the knowledge of the world, and if there's a consensus, then it's intelligence, and they'll report it.
Sure.
So when in a market we have when there's market consensus, generally the market goes the opposite direction.
Right.
So based on that, artificial intelligence should be wrong almost all the time in predicting the direction of a market. And because you're dealing with human beings and interaction and market participants interacting with each other, consensus is a terrible way to make decisions, and that is the way artificial intelligence is set up. So I think about that often, that might be the worst possible predictor of a market.
So let's say in 2 weeks from now, we ask it about the market, I could say wheat, after we get done watching what happens with harvest here. Ukrainian harvest, which apparently is not going very well. They've had poorer weather conditions. They think their yield is going to be down. Even when estimates, I know the Pro Farmer Tour focuses on corn and soybean, but I think it still can affect some other markets. When you put all those things in, be curious what AI says in 2 weeks from now versus what we might say.
Yeah, that would be curious, but I sure wouldn't trade it. Let me put it that way. The other thing that I think is really important this week, Trump and Putin are meeting in Alaska. We have senators, Senator Graham especially, who claims he has enough votes to pass a bill that will put 500% tariffs on any country that buying energy from Russia and financing their war. That includes China and India. We've already got higher tariffs on India because they're buying energy from Russia.
Right.
So in those trade deals, if we work out a deal on the Ukraine war
with Russia, ironically,
supposedly Ukraine's involved in this fight somewhere, but it's the United States and Russia meeting. I think this is more of an economic summit, actually, than it is about the war, because it's about a lot of other issues. And when we
doesn't war equal economics? I mean, realistically.
Of course it does, yes. So you resolve those issues. I'm excited for ag because India and China are two major countries in the BRICS organization, Russia being the third of the four. So Brazil is the fourth one, ironically, a big competitor of ours in soybeans. So if we can resolve these issues and get along with BRICS countries in trade, and not isolate the United States, that's basically most of our ag market.
Okay. When we talk about trade and we talk about India, I mean, we know, first of all, let me back up. With China, we know what we want to trade, right? They want soybeans. They'll maybe buy some corn. They take U.S. domestic cotton. They want pork. They know they raise a lot of pork, but they still want to import pork, beef. But what about India? Because India has been very much a internal farm-centric country. They want to protect their farms first. So what would they want from us?
A lot like Japan. But Japan is in a situation, Japan needs a lot of product.
Well, they need some rice right now.
They protect their farms historically, yes. A lot of these protections were put in place after World War II.
Sure.
And, even in the United States, we have a sugar policy that we don't want to have to import sugar. We want to have domestic self-sufficiency, so we don't have to import it because we went through sugar shortages. What did they call those?
The rationing in World War II.
Yeah. Yes. People couldn't get sugar on things that they wanted. So countries remember that. But that generation, that was 75, 80 years ago. That generation is dying off, not just in the United States, but in Europe, in Japan, and now we're talking new trade deals. We do have an opportunity to open up ag export products in places we haven't been able to before. And that's very exciting if you're a United States farmer.
The scope, though, India is going to be much more sizable than Japan. The scope of what they purchase.
Population, but, they traditionally haven't had the money of Japan. Japan's a wealthier country.
Right.
And having the ability to buy, not just the need, but also the ability. Africa has the need, but they don't necessarily have the capability of paying. And so...
well, that's where Ukraine has done so well, is they've sold to those North African countries, to India, et cetera, because their wheat was lower priced than ours, et cetera, so they could make better deals. Our wheat was more expensive.
Some shipping advantages, too.
Oh, by far.
Everybody in different parts of the country has that. But if we could open up those markets, kind of eliminate this impact of this Ukraine war, the last 3 years have really kind of screwed up world markets in a way.
Speaking of transportation, and I mentioned to you this off air, the potential for two large U.S. railroads to come together, Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern, is a discussion. That would be America's first transcontinental freight railroad. And I was asked, how would that affect our markets up here? But probably not a lot.
Maybe not a lot. It seems like if you have less competition on the transportation side, that could adversely impact farmers, because competition is kind of the engine that drives the U.S. economy to be the best in the world by far. Mm-hmm. And if you eliminate competition by having, one competitor gobble up another, that's usually not a good thing. I think the point is well made, though, that may not impact our region as much as it would where those railroads are operating.
Sure. All right, it's harvest. We're cutting spring wheat right now. We're not far from soybeans. Come Labor Day, I'm going to start to see all the soybeans turning yellow. Corn will follow fast. Is it too late for someone to come talk to you about their commodities trading, about doing any forward contracting, anything like that? Where do they stand at harvest like this, Ray?
Actually at harvest, we like to set ourselves up so at harvest we're more buyers than we are sellers. Okay. And of course, if you're a person who uses grain to feed livestock, that's a great time to be buying things in, even on the basis side, on the cash side. But for our farmers, we like to try and price things ahead. And now at harvest, we probably will make a low. We might actually make a multi-year, like 3 or 4 year low at harvest time this year because of a lot of other factors. We've been going down for 3 years. We're below the cost of production now in most of the commodities. So, and we're making these new trade deals. Trump's been office 6 months. What will happen in 3 years from now?
As you mentioned, look what happens when he tweets just overnight.
Yeah, we talked about that last night at about 11 o'clock. Trump tweeted that China really has a great need for soybeans, and he thanked President Xi for talking about that. Apparently, they're in trade negotiations right now. So the soybean market popped 25 cents higher, basically almost immediately.
Right.
So that is a big factor, particularly in soybeans. But, in corn and wheat, we wrote that original trade agreement with, Trump 1.0, his first term. And China was buying corn and wheat as well until COVID hit. And then that all ended.
COVID changed a lot of factors for people.
Unfortunately, it's not all for the best.
When folks want to talk about some of those factors, how can they reach you at Progressive Ag, Ray?
We have a 800-450-1404 number. People can email me at rlg@progressiveag.com.
Thank you so much for answering just a wild variety of questions that I had a list of today.
You always have some good ones.
Well, good. Thank you. All right, folks, we will be back to do that last check of the weather and a couple of headlines. Stay tuned. 1:56 in the afternoon here on Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining me, Ag Director Bridgette Readel. And just a few headlines to catch up for you. First of all, Bangladesh is looking to buy some wheat. Well, perfect. We're a wheat harvest. They have approved a purchase of about 220,000 metric tons of wheat from the U.S. They would like to do that in order to help cool some trade tensions that might be going on with steep imports tariffs that are being imposed by current administration. So that would be a deal at $302 a ton and would be supplied through a Singapore-based trading house. Also, earlier in July, Bangladesh signed a memorandum of understanding to import 700,000 tons of wheat annually over the next 5 years. They've usually relied on cheaper imports from the Black Sea region for lower cost wheat, and then would import smaller volumes of higher grain trade from countries like the U.S. and Canada and then blend it. But right now, because of some of the situations, again, with like Ukraine not having a great crop, they're going to have to find other sources in which to buy some of their grain. And what that'll happen and do in the future, well, we're just going to have to watch and see. Trade around the world is changing on a very fast basis if we're not paying attention. Just like we talked about with Ray a few minutes ago, tweets overnight can swing those markets. One other thing that can happen very quickly overnight, our weather. We are expecting some scattered storms and showers this afternoon, and through the evening as a cold front is going to be passing through. Some of those storms could be strong, maybe marginally severe. Most of that is focused up into northwest Minnesota. To some degree, it does appear that more smoke is going to come in on Tuesday and Wednesday as we have some of those cooler temperatures. Currently, we're shooting for a high of about 84 degrees for the afternoon, and again, still a little bit of a chance of some rain showers. There's no storm chasers currently racing around the state of North Dakota. I find that a positive because every time those guys come, things get bad. So we're hoping that we can continue to keep them out of town so none of us have to go through any more of our heavy winds, heavy rains, etc. If you have questions, you can drop me emails, ag@flagfamily.com. And the Jay Thomas Show is next.